The meta model in enterprise maps is, I would say, the high-level meta model is visible if you click to show more in artifact menu. Yeah, so if I click here and show more, here you can see all assets that you can manage in enterprise maps. In case you would like to add there something which is not there yet, new entity, or if I click to specific, for example, I will click to application component, and I would like to add a new attribute, which is quite typical, especially in case of application components, because customer has some specific classifications or some additional information that I would like to edit. In Enterprise Maps 3.0, we already added there some new types and new classifications. So as you see, it's there are more fields. Like you can define the type of the application, you can define the architecture of the application, cloud transformation strategy, disposition strategy, like the commission, number of users, and so on. If you want to extend this, and this is quite typical requirement, we have a tool called Workbench, which is a zip file that you can download from ISO file of enterprise maps. And if you extract it and run it, you will see something like this. In enterprise maps or in this workbench, you can adjust the data model. I will show you some real example. For example, for this customer, I added additionally some new artifact type. It is RFP. If I click to specific project, I can create a new project. I can define that it will be extension project. And once I define this, it will show you all artifact types which are actually registered in enterprise maps. If I click, for example, to application layer, I can see all Archimate application layer entities. If I would like to open the application component, I see that under this I have also database schema J2 application, a web application, which is a subtype of the application component. If I double click to application component, I can see some description like the internal name, which is very important in case you want to import this collection, as well as if I click to the tab properties, I can see all properties which are actually available and which are linked with application component. So let's say I receive from customer a requirement that I would like to also trace what language, programming language was used for the specific application. We don't have this out of the box, so I will click to new. And now I have three options, either primitive property, which means string, integer, date, and this kind of stuff. Taxonomy property that I gonna use because this is a I would say fixed list of options that I can select, or relationship property, which means I would like to link application component with something else. In this case, the most suitable is taxonomy property. I will click to taxonomy. I will define language. Of course, you can here define some description, more complex description. This taxonomy is not created yet, so I will create it. Define that it will be language taxonomy or programming. Language taxonomy, click to finish, and again finish. And now I have created a new property called language, that will be visible in UI. And now what I can do, I can define the categories. So here I define C++, I will define Java, I will define what is the typical JavaScript, for example, and so on. So I can define the values that you can select from drop-down box. And the last one will be other. Of course, I can do also much more than this. I can even define some hierarchical option, like in case of Java, I will add child and define that it will be 1.6 Java. And in case of Java, I will also add another child, which will be 1.7 and 1.8. So now, if you apply this change into enterprise maps, it will automatically create a new attribute which will contain these values. And in case of Java, I will disable this option, which means you can select Java, you can select only the version of the Java, not the Java itself. Okay? So this is the way how you can build new properties, as well as I can build a new artifact. So let's say I would like to build a business application, because in case of business application, I would like to trace some more information like business criticality, which is not helpful in case that we trace the application component. So I can click to, for example, application component, click to new, define new artifact type. I will call it I will click to next, or sorry, one initial thing that I have to do. I need to define whether I extend the application component or not. If I extend the application component, it means that even a business application will be considered as an application component from Archimate point of view, which makes sense, of course, yeah. So let me try to find application component, which is here. So I will define that it is extending. It's like inheritance in the programming language. Yeah, so it will inherit all the properties, all the information from application component, and finish. And now I have a new business application here. And in case of business application, I mentioned that I would like to use business criticality. Business criticality is already defined. We call it business impact. So I will define, well, business impact. Okay, so now I have a new artifact type called business application. If I apply, and I will show you how to apply it into Enterprise Maps, if I click here, you will see that the application component, which is here, can be configured as a either business application or I would say application component. So here, if I create a new entity, actually I have web application database schema or J2 application. So the new item will be available here. We call business application, and you can build the business applications directly. And in case of business application, you will see that there will be one additional attribute called business criticality. Okay. Okay. So this is the way how you can customize the model. The last step that you need to do once let's say I design the model. The last thing I need to do is that I will click to the project and click something we call extension. Build extension means that it will generate a file. Let me skip this because I don't want to connect Enterprise Maps server. Again, skip. And now it will generate a jar file called with some name, yeah, based on the name of the project. And once I save it, it will save to Enterprise Maps folder called extension. So let me move to Enterprise Maps installation. Not sure what was the right. Let me check where it is. Yeah, it was this. So this is the Enterprise Maps installation directory, and under extension, it generates a small jar file. This jar file contains all the changes in your data model. There are other jar files like core, which contains the core model. So even the core model in Enterprise Maps is configured by Workbench. Yeah. So we did it even in Workbench, the core model. And now you will call setup. You need to stop Enterprise Maps, of course. But if you call setup, once you stop the Enterprise Maps, you have option to apply extension, which is here. Okay. If I apply the extension, it means that it will automatically adjust the data model. I will skip it because I don't want to adjust my instance. But through setup tool, the setup tool will automatically export all the data, existing data that you have in Enterprise Maps, adjust the database schema, so it will create new tables or adjust tables, add new columns, and this kind of stuff. Then it does migration, so the existing data will be migrated into this new format. And then it will be imported back to the database, the whole data set. So the application of extension is quite time-consuming activity in case that you have a lot of data in Enterprise Maps. But on the other hand, you typically do this once, twice per project. It's not something that you need to do regularly.